I'm gonna get it. Morning, everybody. It is Saturday, April 19th, 2025. We are potentially on the brink of a federal declaration of either martial law or the Insurrection Act of 1807. Don't know yet. We'll find out. Uh, that all stems from executive orders that were signed at the beginning of this new administration when the president declared a national emergency at the southern border. Again, we will get into that later, but that is definitely tops. It's funny how life works because tomorrow is 420, known for a number of things. One of the things are the use of marijuana, and if you're going to do something like this, what day better to do it than on a day when a number of people may not be in their full senses? Also, it will be Easter Sunday tomorrow. So a number of folks will be out there in their church home in celebration of Istar. I'm sorry, Easter. I apologize. I was throwing little bit of logic in. We'll see how that rinses out. I know that mm, I saw the report yesterday. I believe it was USA Today that broke that Homeland and the Department of Defense did not see a warrant for such action at this time. But again, we have the president that we have, so God only knows what's going to happen between now and then. I spoke to Rodney last, I want to say Thursday. We had a lengthy conversation. I told him that I was going to open show a little bit different today. Hopefully, he's able to join us and we'll slide into that because there was a disagreement between Just Hilarious and Sexy Red. And I wanted to really bring that up because it highlights the situation that we find ourselves in today. We wanted to also get into the discussion about the Maryland man that's still in prison in El Salvador, wrongly deported, and he's still there. Um, Senator Van Hollen went down to see about him. We also wanted to discuss the upcoming NFL draft. Therefore, I'm wearing my Ravens jersey this morning because the draft will happen before we come back on air next week. So I wanted to get a little bit into that with Brother Barry and have that discussion as well. The NFL did increase the salary cap across the board. It was a worded increase, but they need to give them more dough, man. Like, you cannot build a team around this meager salary that they're allowing for each team to have. In addition to that, there really needs to be some hard truths and conversations with the union about how much these cats can really make. I'm not saying that the NFL can't pony up anymore, but god dang, you're gonna have a freaking $1 million squad playing on the field actively very, very soon. Very, very soon. Between what you're paying the quarterback, between what you're paying the daggone wide receiver, your safety got to get their dough. Your edge rusher has to get his dough. Shucks, running backs want more money again. Shucks, you need to pay your corners, and man, corners are getting even more and more important in the game because these cats are getting bigger, faster, and stronger. It doesn't matter what size they are. They are getting huge, but they're still fast as hell. That's a problem. Humans are just bulging out on all kinds of sides and shapes and what have you. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Life be lifing for all of us. A friend of mine, we were chatting it up early in the week, and I found out that he actually was cut by one of the Doge layers, and he has since been sent home with pay, which is a good thing. But still, he's uncertain of his future and his career. And he made some very valid points. He's like, yo, this is extremely frustrating because we just don't know. We don't know, and that is a huge problem for most of us, without a doubt, right? Most of us pay our bills, move our lives in accordance with our. Oh my goodness, Morning! Look at you, Sister Rashi. Look
Okay, wait.
at you.
You know I ain't finna
Most
put
of us
no. I ain't finna put my teeth in. So keep it pumping. Keep going. Keep going.
most of us move our lives and pay our bills in accordance with our income or our expected income, right? So it's very difficult to plan a life when you're in a situation of limbo, constant limbo, I should say. So I get it, and I dig it. You know, the sad part of this is it's a whole lot of people in that situation, and it's not over. Again, we're saying, and we've been saying, tomorrow is day 90. He's not even got to 100 yet, and all this turmoil going on within the first 90 days. What does 6 months look like? What does a year look like? What does 18 months look like? Just the constant thought of the increase in stability is mind-boggling in and of itself. And no one should have to live like that. No one. Either it is or it's not, and we can deal with those either of those truths. Most of us can handle either of those truths. If it's not, then we pick ourselves up, we brush off the resume, and we try to find something new. If it is, then we continue to do what we do, try to get better at it, and we move on. Try to inspire others to join our team or get on in the same stance as us, and we move forward. Right. Personal news. uh, I was not impacted by Doge. Let's be clear by that. I have not been touched by that. But personal news, I had a huge audit going on, and I was saying a couple weeks ago just about how tired I was, and a portion of that was because of the audit. I mean, it was draining. It was absolutely draining. I've been having a whole lot of long days and very, very, very short nights, and I was fortunate enough to come through this thing smelling like roses, and I'm very grateful to my team at work. I'm really grateful to my team that you see here on the screen for helping me in doing such as well. So I really want to thank you all for that, because I may have been or may have come across a little short, a little curt in the past couple of weeks. And honestly, y'all, I was just tired. I've been putting in some really long hours, waking up early in the morning, still exercising and stuff. That's new to a fat boy. Fat boy got to acclimate himself to that. You can't just start that in the middle of something like this. And I did it, and I've continued it, and I'm proud of myself for that. So as Snoop said, congratulations to me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But yeah, honestly, it's just one of those things where I was really burning it both sides and in the middle, and I'm feeling much better. Hell, I started feeling better. Honestly, I want to say probably around Tuesday, which was the first day of the audit, believe it or not. But by that time, I was understanding that the plane was coming down to land safely, not crash, to land safely, and I was in good hands, and I was in a good mind frame, to be honest with you, because at that point it is what it is. You know, I've done it all. I've truly laid it all out on the field, and there's no more that I can daggone do at this point. It's going to be what it's going to be. Let's get it going so we can get it over with, see what we need to fix, and press. And that really is where I am right now. I'm very happy to be on this side. I'm very happy to start the focus back on this thing. I got a notification last night that the 52nd anniversary of hip hop is going on. That's coming in September, so I need to get with Bukan to talk to him about that. How we're going to play that. We did the 46th in Harlem. I'm pretty sure the 52nd is going to be back in Harlem, which is a great excuse for me to go home. I will take every excuse possible and imaginable for me to go home. I have no problems with that whatsoever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. It puts me in front of the camera again with a microphone. I'm getting more used to that. Someone was asking me yesterday, actually, I bumped into two people. There's a sister down here that's doing produce giveaways in the community, and she and I linked up pretty much like right after I got here. And I went out to support one of her events yesterday. So as I'm there, I'm talking to another car wash. All right, we're politicking. We were doing so good. I hadn't had any lag until then. Look, let me tell you about that real quick. Let me branch out, tell you about that real quick. So I have the fiber at the house. I thought I was going to be able to connect it before the show today. Didn't work because I don't have the damn box in the house. Allegedly, I don't have the box in the house, so they have to send a tech out. So the tech could come today between 12 and 2, and I was like, yeah, can't do it during the show because that would look a hot mess. The tech running around in the house, so I'm gonna have them come out tomorrow. So if we go through one more day, please bear with me. If we go through one more day of the lagging, God willing, the creek don't rise after the fiber gets in, it'll be a hell of a lot better. But I was continuing to say, let me get back to where I was. So I'm polying with the sister yesterday, and she was saying to me, she was asking me about the show, and I was telling her that we um we just started using, relatively speaking, we just started using the video piece, right? And how different that is, how totally different that is, because there were things that we could do when we were simply audio that do not look well at all when you have a camera in front of your face. There were things that we could research. I could research stuff as people were talking, and you all would never know. I could call the guest that if we had a guest and the guest was coming on, I could call the guest, walk the guest through everything. You all would never know. Rashi could be on the phone with her guests.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
we could do all kinds of stuff that you all yeah, that you all just never knew. And now, with you seeing us, we have to be focused forward almost at all times. And if not, then we go black to do all those side things. Well, because there's no engineer, it's just us. And that's nothing wrong with that, right? This is what we do. We're going to tell you what's going on. We keep it real. So I was saying that. Then I went to a store yesterday. I'm not dropping any names. I went to a store yesterday and I saw a brother in the electronics section and he was looking at some equipment. I just casually said to the brother, I said, hey, bro, you about to start a podcast? And he was like, man, actually, yes, I am. I said, really? So we got to talking. I said, well, what is your podcast going to be about? He says, well, I'm going to do mine about bookkeeping and accounting. Well, I was an accounting major in high school. Did not continue that in college, but that's what I was in high school. So we got to building on that. And I was like, man, you really don't need that, and this. What you really need is this, and this. And he was like, well, okay, well, how you know? I said, well, I have a podcast as well. And we just recently switched from audio to video and audio through StreamYard. He was like, okay, cool. How you like it? I said, well, it's different. And I gave him the same examples, right? So he said, well, are you on YouTube? And I said, yeah, we do have a YouTube channel, which we do. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel. It's the show's name. And he was typing in and it didn't pop up. I said, yo, don't sweat it. Remember, we just started doing the visual. We're building that audience. We're good. We're also on Amazon. We're also here. We're also there. You go there, the numbers are much bigger. You know what I'm saying? We would pop up a heck of a lot faster because we have more followers, so on and so forth. So nah, we good. So he was like, all right, bet. Say all that to say, you never know who you're gonna meet, where you're gonna meet them, and one of the things that we talked about even before the election is and was black unity starts with saying hello. We have to start talking to one another. We have to start interacting with one another. As Brother Barry hit on his show this morning, we have to start trusting with one another and building with one another. We've been saying this now for years. It's even more true in this moment that we're in right now because of what's happening to all of us, but specifically what may happen to us during this administration. So, having those ties, building those relationships were huge. And again, both of those were just one offs. If I had taken another direction, I would have never met either of those people. And I really thought about blowing the sisters event off yesterday. Because when I got off work late. I was tired because I really wanted to get a whole lot of sleep last night. And I was like, you know what? This is the first weekend in a while where I really am coming down and I really want to enjoy it. I put that address in that GPS and that motherfucker said an hour away and I was like, 30 minutes. So I was like, an hour and a half? Well, I want to drive 30 minutes to the crib. So I actually headed to the crib. Not gonna lie, I headed to the crib. Got right around the corner from the crib. Went to the grocery store because I was like, I want some sunflower seeds. Don't know why the fat boy in me wants some sunflower seeds yesterday, but the fat boy in me wants some sunflower seeds yesterday. So I copped that up. I got one of those what's those lemonades? The Calypso, I think that's what they're called. The
Yep.
kiwi, oh man, they got crack in that mug. That mug is bang. I'm sorry, that's not what the kids say nowadays. The kids say
I
bussin'.
believe
That mug is
that's
bussin'.
the hoodest
So
stuff I ever
I'm
heard you
I'm
say.
sipping on
I caught me some sunflower seeds
look,
and a lemonade calypso. What the hell are you doing, man?
that's it. That,
What kind of diet is that, Thomas?
look, I was chilling. I was enjoying my day in Friday. It was 5 degrees. It was 8 on. I was chilling. So anyhow, I put it back in the GPS, and that mug said 43. Ugh. All right, pump it. I'm a ride. So I rolled over. It was a good look. Let's get out of that. And let's get into the whole shebang while we're here this morning. So I told Rodney, and I was hoping he was going to be on, but that's okay because he ain't going to understand where we're going in here. Sexy Red and Jess Hilarious had a confrontation, if you will, on the Breakfast Club. I saw the clip just the other day. I don't know exactly when it happened, but I saw the clip just the other day. So Jess Hilarious was asking Sexy Red why she didn't like her, didn't f with her, whatever her lingo was. And she was like, "I'm here, you're here. I don't recall ever saying anything negative. I don't recall because I listen to your music. I don't recall doing this, that. So what is your issue with me?" And the young lady was just like, "Well, I hear things on the internet. I see things on the internet. I pay attention to how people move." And but she kept saying, "But what have I done to you? What is your issue with me?" And you know what this young lady said? I don't know. You don't know. So you don't know why you have an issue with me, but you are having an issue with me. Because she said, "I greeted you, and you didn't even acknowledge my greeting. You spoke to everyone else except for me. I came back to you again just thinking maybe you didn't hear me. And still, you ignored me. You're sitting here now and you won't even look at me. How does that work?" And in my head, it clicked upon me because it went back to what she said. On the internet, I see, I hear. This is a huge problem that we're having. And it's a big problem. I'm sorry, it's a big part of the problem that we're in. Brother Barry, you've said it. I've said it on many occasions that you've said this. The Republicans this go around played the hell out of the algorithm. And we have folk whom are living off of their phones. That's all they do. And they're getting 3 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds of information over and over and over and over again. So to them, it's reality because that literally is what they're seeing and what they're hearing. Well, I saw it, I heard it, but you didn't understand the context. You got no context clues, Rashi. These people are reading without context clues. Actually, that's a lie. They're not reading. They're listening without context clues. They're watching without context clues. All they're doing is waiting for that piece that reaffirms in their mind, "Oh, yeah, I've been saying the same thing." That's all they're doing. They're not listening to the before, they're not listening to the after. They get so hooked on that one thing. For again, they're getting 3 to 8 second clips. So you're hooked on one thing that only lets you're hooked on that. That's all you're hooked on. That's all you're focused on. And because they're hearing it again, or they're so quick to share it. So now it permeates throughout their circle. So now everyone else that I'm sorry, is talking about the same stuff. But they're not asking anybody else outside their bubble. What do you think? How do you understand this? What did you glean from this? They're not doing that. All they're doing is constantly reaffirming amongst themselves that whatever this thing is, it's law. It is without a doubt truth. I had a conversation with a sister the other day about chemtrails. And she's talking about how the government is making clouds and how they can make the weather change. They're seeding clouds. They're seeding the atmosphere. I was like, first off, you're talking about three different things. Let's be clear about that. Do you know what chemtrails were originally for and still used for? Most people don't know. And that's okay. It's okay. Chemtrails originally were used for and still used for preventing satellites from spying on the United States of America. That's what they were used for. It's actually particles being distributed in the atmosphere to break up the visibility of satellites. That's what they were used for. That big during the Cold War, huge during the Cold War, because no one wanted anybody spying on them, and everyone had freaking satellites up in damn stratosphere and atmosphere and out in space. As far as cloud seeding is concerned, I can see that happening, especially local governments are concerned about wildfires, so on and so forth. I can see that. Some research that I found saw where there were states specifically in the West, in the Southwest, very dry, that did stuff like that. They purposely sent up aircraft that had chemicals in it that would cause it to rain more than if it were. I'm sorry, rain more if rain was not in the forecast. In order for wildfires not to happen, do you not want that to happen? Seriously? But that doesn't mean that someone's causing a tsunami. That doesn't mean that someone's causing a snowmageddon. These are things that folks are doing trying to protect anybody and everybody. So yeah, I don't get that part. But again, when you're getting 3 second, 8 second clips of information and you're seeing it over and over and over and over again, and you're sharing it over and over, or you see it, or I bit my tongue, sorry, or you see it and you see that it has a million likes or a million shares, then some folks whom are not into doing their own independent research will latch on to that and believe. That is a huge part of the issue that we're fighting today because folk are so stuck on what they want to believe versus doing just a little bit of digging to understand what actually is. And I'm not shooting any shots at anyone because it's Easter weekend. It's not about that. This is this is about the social, economic, and political climate that we're living in today. Nothing more, nothing less. Matter of fact, Jamal Bryant has put on a Black Business Bazaar this weekend. As soon as the show's over with, I'm hopping in the whip. I'm going over there to support it. Hopefully, I'll get a couple minutes with the brother, a couple seconds with the brother. If I don't, it's cool. If I do, that's cool too. You know what I'm saying? But my sister called me, Kimberly Green. That's my birthday twin. She hit me up. She was like, "Bro, if you in town, come through. I'm gonna be in town, so I'm gonna come through and support." Um, but yeah, Rashi, especially with the social media element and you dealing with these young folks, do you see them being led astray constantly because they're so stuck on Instagram or TikTok?
My good morning, y'all. My daughter just told me the new trend. It's the what the Heliante? What the Heliana Grande? What the Helion? Okay, you get it. With the Heliacal Jackson. You can say hell now, but you gotta say what the, and then you blend
Mm.
hell into some. Okay, so I'm just hipping y'all up when y'all hear it from the youngsters. It's okay. So this is what I'm telling you. At some point, because I'm an educator, I have to agree on transfer. Not not I'm not a catalyst as much as I am a conduit. Wait a minute. I got that backwards. I'm not a conduit as much as I am a catalyst. So let's do it. If a child has information to share with me, we start there. I don't even try to tell them nothing. I begin my day with what is it? What's going on? If they say something about sexy red, I give them my sexy red opinion. But guess what? Sexy red is for us. Them real young kids at the age I'm dealing with, they don't really do. They might hear it in a clip somewhere, something she said, some music of hers in the background of one of their TikTok or Snapchat ticks, but they're not talking about her. What are they talking about? They're talking about the YNs. Who's popping right now is everything YN. Wherever a YN got, if he got on a what do you call them things over their face? What's the thing on the face, Thomas?
Shiesty
The,
mask.
if he got on the Pooh Shiesty, McCasty, or whatever they got, Pooh Shiesty mask, they try to come in with that thing all day. And when you tell them to take Pooh off, to mark Pooh, no Shiesties up in here. They mad. They try to snatch that hoodie down over to their face till it look like a booty hole. What I'm telling you is it's about the YN culture. It's about sagging. It's about uh, definitely, and I hate to say it, not about getting no girl. They not don't know who the cutest girl in the class. It's all about masculinities and who is the bitchiest of the ass nigga. You bitch ass nigga, you fat ass nigga, you dumb ass nigga, you slow ass nigga, you big back ass nigga. With your with your slow ass nigga, your non reading ass nigga, you can't do math ass nigga. With your greedy ass eating lunch too fast ass nigga. And so they have adopted the YN culture, and
Oh,
all the girls are all about whose lashes can look the most like Snuffleupagus on Sesame Street. And I have caught 5 young ladies sharing edge control with one toothbrush. And so what we're doing here is aesthetics. We're not talking about anybody's music. It's all about adopting a place within a culture. And for the girls, it's the edge bang patrol, and for the boys, it's the Pooh Shiesty YN mentality. And that's the best I can tell you. That's what I've been looking at. That's how I'm clocking it with my children and the children I'm looking at, right? And so yeah, I don't know what the Heliande Grande is going on here, but it's not right.
hmm. Hell,
You ain't. But are you tapped in, Barry? Are you tapped into a band of Ute? Have you seen? Are you
Go
around more than
ahead.
25 to 50 young people?
Not at one time anymore. Because I do service families and child protection services. So I do get a chance to mix it up with the young people, but not like I did when I was in the classroom. But I'm familiar with the YN culture as well as some of the other things that are going on. And I'll just say this is the penance that you pay when you refuse to take ownership, and we refuse to take ownership. Uh, we have a hard time owning this culture, and part of that is because we feel as if somebody else is going to do right. It's this. You know, I hate to say this during this weekend, but we suffer from a savior complex. We're hoping that someone's going to come save us. And so we don't communicate with our children the way that we should. And, you know, I think that that's where it's from. And I think when we talk about the incident he was the least talking about, it's an example of what happens when people don't communicate with each other and we're not teaching young people proper social skills. So those young ladies had an issue. Sexy Red should have arrived early, had that conversation off camera, and they could have got back to conducting the business so that everybody could continue to make money and eat because they sit and talk to white people who they disagree with every day.
But brothers, I do want to tell you that if you there, I ain't trying to say it's different types of women. Okay, it's just really one type of woman, but we doing our best out here in these streets not to be looking like scallywags and riffraff, and we just doing our best. Some women are to push a persona of respectability. We still hold on to that respectability politics. We want to either capture the attention of a gentleman who also respects himself and knows how to respect a woman who respects herself. And we have tried to kind of be a little bit more classy, right? Some of us. So when we see women who say, fuck that, this is it, it's a little frustrating for us that has decided to put the cookies up just a little bit. When somebody come with the cookies out, you're like, just put your, you got talent, you got intellect, you got something else than that. When you lead with that, it negates your other, it could be seen as negating or making your other talents less important because you're leading with your titties.
Mm.
You understand? So I understand why it's that Voldemort. You know what I'm saying? That's that Voldemort, Mr. B. It's that shit you cannot name. You know what it is. It's what you feel when you see a man slap a woman in the face. If you watch a man slap a woman in the face, and she didn't slap him first, and you understand, you don't be like, "That's my boy. Put that pimp hand down." You be like, "Hey, hey, hey, hey." Hopefully. You like, "Hey, hey, hey, wait," because he's not exhibiting, in your opinion, the behavior, Barry, of a man who makes rational decisions in a confrontation. Right, Barry?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could take it from that aspect of it.
Okay, so when we see women like, you know what I'm saying? It's just been a rash of them, and it didn't used to be like this. And I want to say it deviated what at Erica Badu. I don't know who started this on this road. Patra, who started this on this sexy red road, Barry? Who can was it Josephine Baker? Did Josephine Baker do us like this?
if I let brother um, Dale Jones, who wrote Culture Bandits, say it, he would say it was Nina Simone and her display with white men over in front
Mm.
of hopping on the table, singing and dancing topless. But that's another story. Uh, you
But
know,
Josephine was before her popping it off in that little outfit. Anyway, then I say to myself, well, what's wrong? If I go home to Mother Africa, it ain't nothing to see a topless woman and a Himba woman rubbed in the red clay, topless with the. It is in fact
but they have a
part of our
different,
historical memory. So
but
why am I so adverse to it being parodied, mimicked?
they have a different mission. They didn't have Hottentot Venus or Sarah Bartman. So we are dealing with the objectifying of black women. And correct me if I'm wrong, when BET had Uncut, women were complaining about the same thing from Nelly with Tip Drill. All of a sudden now, rappers aren't even doing videos like this. They got female rappers who are objectifying themselves with non-male backing in a lot of these situations. So to me, I just look at it from the vantage point of it's about dignity. I don't think that conversation was based off of her raunchiness, but I do feel like there's a level of, when you don't carry yourself with a level of respect. And we know what self-respect look like in our community. And I wish we stopped playing those games with each other too. That's like the other side of it too. We know when a man or a woman in our community is walking with respect or self-decency for themselves. And I don't think Sexy Red, she carries this persona of disrespect. And so you can't expect people to respect you when you're walking around in a persona that's been looked down in our community for years. And I don't care how real, because people try to attach that label real to her. And you can be a real fool, you can be a real whore, you can be a real rapist, a real whatever. You can put real in front of anything, but it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it respectable. And so that's what, for me, and I will say this much. I don't think black people today are really looking at the shoulders of the people that they stand on and how they carry themselves. Just like you said, Rashi, you took it all the way back to the motherland. But it's history that happened after we was on those shores. And so we're in America. And there's certain stereotypes about us here in America that we shouldn't live down to. We should act like we got control over our genitals. We should act like we got some type of wherewithal of how this society sees and treats us and values us. And we shouldn't play down to that. And so for me, I don't give that continent excuse because they have a different mission. They weren't in bondage and in chains like we are. So that's where there's a slight difference.
Well, I do agree with you what you said, Lee. You cannot learn any damn thing for real in 30 seconds. These shorts, these segments are actually designed to lead you to greater content. They are thumbnails. They are thumb. Is that right? Not thumbnails. What they call them little shorts they give you to lure you in. Not thumbtacks. Not thumbprint. It's a thumb word. Anyway, they are the thing, the little shorts are supposed to lure you. You're supposed to type in, I'm sorry, you're supposed to type in that person's name somewhere in Googly or some database. You're supposed to delve into the subject matter in a way that you get both sides of the argument. But if that if you good, they give you 1 minute, 20 seconds. If you good, Lee, that could not possibly fit the totality of the message that you're trying to convey. Thumbnails. Thumbnails? No, that's not it. Anyway, so you're right, Lee. People are using them shorts wrong. They're using them reels, or what do they call them, scrollies, or whatever your information. If you stopping at that little segment, then you're wrong. You're supposed to take that information, if you can,
Mhm.
and drive it all the way up to the head, to the top of the pyramid, and see what's true, of this factor. See what they're basing that argument on. And if you can't find nothing but that short, stop talking about that shit. I don't even care if you're looking at the person, because they learned how to cook the books, Thomas, where you could be looking at somebody, but it's not real.
Well, you're talking about AI. And so, AI is a problem for sure. And I think that also shows a twist in this. But, I just want to always harken back, though, to it's on us on what we participate in. And we don't always have to participate in everything. And that to me is always, when they say you got rights, you got independence, it's like it's a level of responsibility to all of that. And I feel like you're responsible. The more rights and opportunities you have, you have responsibility in what you participate in. And I feel like I'm watching a lot of artificial and AI stuff that's they put online that can make things seem super gross, or make people seem like they did acts that they didn't do, or say things that they didn't say. I just saw one yesterday of Kamala Harris. They showed her dancing, and they added her laugh at the end. And I saw a lot of people liking it, but I was like, I don't like this, because if they can show her dancing in this way and then show her talking and then her laughing, then they can start saying things that she did not say. And then people will take that and then they'll start saying it's fact because I saw this online. So we have to be careful in what we engage in. And the scary part is when we engage in so much tomfoolery, right? And that gets passed around so much, it makes you more susceptible to get serious things faked out on you. So, that's just my 2 cents in it. I know we were supposed to be talking about this piece with the shooting inside of Florida State. And I just wanted to say I had shared a video from CNN yesterday on my page. And I want people to, if you're friends with me on social media, check it out, because what it said on Facebook was a different headline than what it had on YouTube. And I feel like that's very important to note, because the YouTube video told you a lot more about this shooter, about how he targeted multicultural studies. I saw other pieces where he was kicked off of certain student groups because they said that he was a Nazi. And when I put it on Facebook, the heading was very neutral. And I said, well, I got the video from YouTube. Why is Facebook altering the title once it gets to Facebook? You go back to YouTube, it says something else. I can tell you guys what it says. Hold on one second there. On YouTube, on Facebook, it says, made enough people uncomfortable. FSU student describes what suspect was like in class. But when I got the video on Facebook, that's what it said on Facebook. But when I got it from YouTube, this is YouTube's heading. FSU student who knew suspect said he attacked multiculturalism in class. Now, that is scary because if YouTube and Facebook, we're taking something that's property of YouTube and we're sharing it over to Facebook. If Facebook could change the title, that tells you that there's a level of filtering that's going on. And that filtering is probably not healthy for the American people. What you think about that, Rodney? And good
Well, I
morning,
think
too, by the way.
Morning.
good morning, everybody. I think it's when we saw I think the three richest people in the world standing behind Cheeto Mussolini during the inauguration. I think it told us all we needed to be told is that they will manipulate their resources to benefit themselves and to make them ingratiate themselves to him. I thought that's what the inauguration said. Uh, that's typically what happens with the empire class or the capitalist class when there is some type of authoritarian takeover. They quickly will move towards that authoritarian to pay tribute to give access to their resources in the hopes that they will be spared and reap the benefits from that particular authoritarian. So this fell right into the typical oligarch, authoritarian, fascist connection that there always is. And so I expected it. I know that I have been throttled on Facebook. Uh, I know other people who've been throttled on Facebook. I expect there to be more of it. And that's one of the reasons why a while ago I was encouraging people to get, if you could not tear away from Facebook, to at least get an alternate social media platform like Fanbase and or Blue Sky to put your important stuff on and communicate, because we cannot trust what now I guess would be the legacy social media platforms.
I would like for you fellas and our listeners to go to a site. It's called gunviolencearchive.org. GUNVIOLENCEARCHIVE.org. And so this we were on the subject of the shooting. Yes, I mean maybe I didn't the shootings, right? And so I want to know. I want you to look at that list. Just for the month of April. Look at the qualifications. Who got killed? Who got injured? What cities? What town? You understand? And see if there isn't even a
Sister
conspiracy.
Rashi, we're losing your audio.
Yeah, and see if even there's a conspiracy for what gets determined as a mass shooting and what doesn't. Why aren't we alerted to how many there actually are? Because if you look at that list, it's quite a few. Gunviolencearchive.org. Okay, which means this is a site run by some government agency. That's how you get org, right? Some organization. Oh, that's not Dove. So this is an actual organization, Barry, right? But their task is to collect mass shooting data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you look at that wealth of data, and you'll see that it's been an ongoing cycle. Who gets to cherry pick? Because you can do it every day. We can report a mass shooting a day. I mean, did you see the list? We could literally do one a day. So why are we picking? I'm not to say that the lives lost, the two lives lost are not worthy, or the five people injured. And as they say, thoughts and prayers, right, Barry? Until we figure this out, thoughts and prayers, right, Mr. Rodney? But if we're
right?
looking at a list, as they say, a litany of data, who say, well, let's see, that's two people hurt, five injured. Okay, this is one person dead, but six people injured. Oh man, this is nine people dead, two people injured. That one's going to get the attention. Who's doing that? And
But
that's how
Rashi,
you know
Rashi,
how your data is coming at you,
but
how your media is being filtered.
but nobody's talking about none of these mass shootings at this point the way that they used to. That FSU story didn't get a lot of traction. Like people are not talking about mass shootings. Like that's the problem. Folks are so desensitized. That's what I was talking about this morning. I seen more people talking about Gail King and her demeanor coming off of that spaceship than I heard them talking about FSU or any other mass shooting that's taking place around the country. And part of that is information control, bodies platforms. And then the other part of it too is that, let's be real, so many people. I mean, I saw a student from FSU who demanded the governor and the president do something about guns and told him, I don't want to hear about your, saying prayers. Prayers help the soul, but what about these guns that's killing people? And what was Trump's response? Well, it's saying that you've probably heard a lot of times, guns don't kill people kill people. I ran on the Second Amendment. And so to me, when I see this and we're talking about a kid who took his mother's weapon, who's also a police officer, and then let's think about his ideology. And then we have to almost wonder, what is her ideology at home? If he's a neo-Nazi, what is she? And she's a law enforcement officer. So there's a lot of contextualization to this conversation inside of a state that's ran by a governor that's hell bent on rewriting history courses and classes and curriculum. And this young man was pretty much a tool, and he believed that. As they said, he was targeting people who eat, multicultural folks. It's no accident that there was a Latino man that was one of the people that he shot. So I think all these mass shootings matter. However, I do understand why situations like this, especially we're talking about FSU, we're talking about Florida State University, one of the predominant universities in this country. You're going to always have, bigger conversations when you have things like that. But more importantly, it should be a focus on, as Americans, we should be talking about this level of, I want to say, mental illness that's taking place in programming by right-wing extreme media, because that keeps getting swept up under the rug. These white boys are being told, and this goofy ass president that we got, by the way, and his cabal of crooks, this is part of the problem. Part of the problem is, if you don't like something and you're white, at this point here, you pretty much are told to go ahead and take it out if it don't look like you, and it'll be okay. And that, to me, I think that's scary. What do you feel, Rodney?
Well, media plays a role in it, but I think just as important is the reality that in every May and June, we graduate a new crop of white supremacists from our school districts, because our schools tend to teach an alternative history as fostered by the United Daughters of the Confederacy since pretty much the end of the Civil War, assuming we consider 1865 to end. Some people say it never really ended.
Mm-hmm.
So and this is now I'm going to put a little bit of something on us collectively. A lot of us have known that this stuff has been going on, that true history, our history, is not really taught. And for the most part, we have done very little to change it. And even if we took our own children out to homeschool them, the people that's in power are still sending their children to public schools and getting that indoctrination. You see, when 45 and his ilk talk about indoctrinating people, it's the typical deflection and projection. Because who was the first to start indoctrinating people in this country and did it until they were forced to stop? It was European white people, the settlers. The Native American schools, so-called Indian schools, the whole purpose of it was to erase a people's history and culture, language, and then replace it with a European mindset. It worked so good that it didn't end, I believe it was 1970 something, before they were forced to shut them down. That indoctrination was an official policy of this country. And they took that same concept and they used it on the rest of America, targeting Black people, but it was key that white people were misinformed as well. And that is what is the biggest perpetuator of it. And then when these people became adults after being indoctrinated for 12 years in white supremacy, then we see how easy it is for them to jump off into what they do with the media companies that they participate in or own, what they do with starting militia groups and other groups. And so they have said that they're afraid that we're going to do it. And at the same time, they've been doing it to us and to their own. Because a lot of white people, I can tell you from my experience with the various groups I belong to, when we start sharing history with them, and Black people sometimes say the same thing. I was never taught that in school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're shocked. Some of them are hurt. Heck, I remember when I started learning more history, it wasn't like I knew as much as I know now, and I definitely don't know it all, but I know more than I did know. And I'm still not shocked, but I'm still disappointed that I didn't know whatever the heck it was, and it was so important. So let's not leave out the thing that we're supposed to have the most control over is our children's education. And we have allowed our children and other people's children, specifically white people's children, to be indoctrinated into white supremacy. So none of the actions of America today surprises me, and especially the children. As a matter of fact, I expect the children to be worse than their parents.
Well, I agree with you to that chagrin. As far as the children being worse, that's certainly one of the things. I still believe though that this country has to do something about gun control. And what I mean by that, you don't take people who have been shady dealers and give them, autonomy to be able to be back on the streets, putting more guns on the streets. But if you're saying that you plan on building more prisons in El Salvador and you plan on putting more American people there, and I guess you flood the streets with guns and you flood and you miseducate folk and you starve out subsidies to make sure that people can be decent. So that way you can have crime. You have a reason to fill those prisons up. And maybe it's not going to be in Trump's, it may not be in his next 4 years that he's shooting for. He may be like putting this out for the next 20 years. But I do feel like we have to ask ourselves as a collective, what's the obsession with this gun thing about? And I thinking about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and I think it is a bit of the indoctrination of white supremacy because it is the replica of the phallus. and the white man's obsession with reproduction, or populating the society of people who don't look like him. And so you put that phallus in the hands of black and brown young folk, and you have them kill each other, and you can lock them up, and you can get two birds with one stone. And sometimes, Rashi, as you were talking about, you know, some of those mass shootings. I mean, we've had shootings inside of Detroit where you had 5 or 6 people gunned down. We just had in Lee's backyard yesterday. It was a shooting with 2 police officers were just shot and a few other people. So we just had a football player. Matter of fact, a Kansas City Chief was just murdered last night. Rashi Rice was just shot dead.
Okay. Okay. You hear what I'm saying? So who's picking what?
But
Who
but
gets to
but
choose
but, but,
what?
but Rashi, I think when we start getting into the semantics of what we're talking about, because it's almost like when people talk about police violence, and then we got to have some black folks say, "Well, why don't y'all get upset when their black child get killed?" I don't know anybody who is protesting the police killing black and brown bodies who don't feel the same way about black on black crime. I feel like we should be protesting it all, but more importantly, that ire should be directed at the National Rifle Association and these gun manufacturers, because do we need to have as many weapons that we have now? It's kind of hard to have that conversation in the age of Trump because you got to have that, so you got to be careful. You got to thread the needle here, right? But then the other side of it too is, at some point we need to look at this obsession, and we need to figure out a way to, instead of having these weapons of mass destruction, why don't we have weapons that can build people up and build things together? And so I just think overall it's all bad. To me, I think it's all bad because I don't think people are using these guns. We're talking about ghost guns that kids are making inside of our community, and they're killing each other. When I think about the amount of black brilliance that we've lost, whether it was intentional or unintentional due to gun violence, man, we can fund another 3 generation of people with that much capital if we had it in our communities. And you never know who was murdered and what they could have cured or could have solved in this current society. And that's the problem. We don't show people how to value life. Life is not a value in this society. And I don't care. I saw Sinners yesterday. And let me tie this in, because this is perfect. Because those brothers was gun toting bad mamma jammas. But one of the things that the vampires kept on saying to get entry to where they were at, they said, "We come in love and we come in peace." But they were coming to cause destruction. And I feel like in this country, just like those guns are being used often, we talk about it in protectivism, we talk about it in rights, but we don't really talk about what those things are being used for. And so we have to value life, man. I just keep saying it, man. Like, this country, we just don't give two flying figs about life. We say we do, but shit, we killing people in worse ways than guns. We killing people without guns nowadays. You know what I'm saying? I
We
mean,
we canceling careers like Kendrick Lamar did Drake, man. We shutting down whole dynasties out here. Black on black violence at its finest. Well, I want to talk to y'all about, and not to sway the topic here, but I want to talk to y'all about Afrofuturism, because we talking about how bad it is now, but I want us to envision a tomorrow. What do we want? What do we like? What are we thinking about? What can we plan for now? What seeds are we sowing now that can push us tomorrow? And the person I'd like to talk about today, Octavia E. Butler, was a futurist. I like to call these people Afrofuturists, okay? Because they're not just talking about anybody's tomorrow. Her and writers of her ilk, Samuel Delaney, It's been a litany. It's so many of them. It's a lot of Black future authors. Current ones are Milton Davis. If I start that, I'll never get to the end of what I was trying to say. Anyway, her name is Octavia E. Butler. She was born in the late 40s. Unfortunately, she had a fall in the 2000s and never recovered from her her fall. But even after her demise, she was able to get a book of her last book, Fledgling, published. What was her on her mind? She was raised by women, and so she just oriented herself towards women. So most of her writings put women in a very powerful place. She never really wrote about women in a sad, unpowerful place. Okay, so one of the things that drew me to her, because you're like, why her? I have always been uh I'm not gonna say sycophant. I just listen to the lady. She's smart. She was so smart. And so I have read all her books. And what I'm most afraid of is that people would take her uh words so literally that you can't see the underlying message she's trying to put in. Okay, let's go here. Let's start here again. The reason why I chose her instead of the previous person I was talking about is because one, she believed in poetry. And you all know this is National Poetry Month, as long as that's still a thing in this country, right? And so one of the poems that she wrote that has always just rang me to my brain, to my core, is it's the closest I can really get with religious ideology. And it's not even about religiosity. So check it out. Octavia Butler. Here we go. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Okay? That's the end. All right? And so that is where I go. That is where I go in my thoughts when I say, well, why? What? Did it change? Good or bad? Is it good? Whether it was a good change or bad change, did it change? The answer is yes. Then it was in the ways of what people have to understand is the nature of God. And so is the closest I can get. And so in that change is going to have a future. So what did the future look like for her? You have to be amazed that she thought in 2024 there was going to be a Christian based revivement of American society that put people in camps and had people out in the streets homeless. And she envisioned a reality where there was this guy at the top, and no matter what he does, everybody was forced to follow. And you can't believe this was back in the day, in her books, in the annuals of her writings are the term Make America Great Again. So some say not only was she a futurist, not only was she a feminist, and she was also a writer, author, poet. She was probably, maybe even a little bit of a psychic because she was able to envision a reality where the behavior of the people she was dealing with every day, the politics of her time, which would have been well the politics of most of her time. It was 47. That's not that's around your uh 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 origin story, Mr. Rodney. So what she was able to speak into being was this idea that Africans have a future. Now, why would she be talking about that? Well, a long time, hey, Star Wars was the future, right? Star Wars, there was one black dude who was in love with robots. And then, Star Trek, which was our push into the future, had they had to force that secretary lady on. No, Uhuru was more than a secretary. I'm just playing. And then in the Jetsons, no blacks, right? And then so whenever they push Future, even Buck Rogers, don't make me pull back because I know y'all remember Buck. Please tell me y'all remember Buck Rogers.
I remember
Even,
Buck Rogers.
okay, thank you. Even then, they had a problem with envisioning us into the future, and so what uh, Octavia was able to do was not just envision us into a real future, but she infused it into a fiction so that she can open up the cabinet doors and the floodgates of possibilities. Because you can predict about the future of African people, and it can be looking pretty bleak. But if you put it in a futuristic, open up the cabinets, open up the thing, and put it in fiction. You can put aliens and you can make everything that's future past, and you can really drill into the idea of us being connected by one seeding African woman and one seeding African man that then gave birth to all that has ever been birthed, right? Because that's what the DNA says. So she wrote it, but she wrote it in a way that we can all digest it. So I want anyone listening, it's some hefty reading because it's hard to read her. She was smart. She rarely wrote one-offs. Usually her writings had you looking for the next part of the story, which she was able to drag and pull and even sometimes push people back off of her in order to push the next part of the story. So whenever you get into Octavia Butler, and I hope you do, all you listeners out there, please do, which get ready to do some pretty hefty reading because she's going to create a world for you that is going to match so much of what you see now that you're going to become part of my crew that she must have already known. She must have dreamt our future and tried to bring it to us softly so we didn't writhe and rail and cry, what they say and have the gnashing of teeth. She tried to give it to us in a way so that when we start living it, like Mr. Rodney says we're doing right now, stop looking around for when it gets worse. It is now. We are worse now. Wake up now. She tried to give it to us so that we could be prepared for the now, the right now. So if you ever wondered what the older crowd thought of what was possible in the future, if you want to see some of the foundation of Afrofuturistic writing, if you really want to know what kind of idealism built the feminist movement, why was it so important for her to put women at the head and the cornerstone of um, what was possible for the women in the future, in the past future. You understand? Because that's part of her. And then her straight up, what they call in the streets, unmitigated gall at tackling what it would mean to go back in time as a black person with the mindset we have now. Come on, Barry. You know how you are now, how strong you are in your thoughts, and take you back to 1824, right? Not even 1924, which would be a problem for us for real. 1824, where you were still asking, looking, trying to, but writing such things and then, hey, getting it published, then getting it written as a story that we get to digest today. If you would like to see some of Octavia Spencer's work, visually, not written, visually, and not audiobook, her story has been adopted by Hulu, and I do believe you can purchase her story, Kindred, 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 on Amazon. So it's her written story adapted for cinema, or was it television? It might have been just television. It's hard to get those stories put on the big screen, Lee. So when you get a moment, Go check it out, Kindred. It is a little painful. It is a little painful, but it is the one of the few times I've ever seen Future today. Have you ever seen a story, Barry, about a person transported back into the past?
Yep.
Which one? Where would you go? Where would I go for a reference?
Lovecraft.
Ah, yeah, that's right. I did watch Lovecraft. Okay, okay, okay. Well, that's pretty much my segment. I want to thank you. I was a little short today, but it's so much of her work to be digested. I'd rather just leave people to go look on different, formats and stuff for her work because it's more being published every day. People are so excited about how she was able to weave in today, but yesterday, so that she's gaining more popularity and she'll always be a favorite of mine because she did not accept conventional ways of living. She never married. She did not have children. And she pretty much lived her life exactly the way she said it was going to be when she wrote her affirmation. She said, I will be a bestseller. I will go anywhere I want in the world. I will take care of myself and my mom. I will. She wrote it down for all, for herself to remind herself. And my favorite part of her writings, I will be a conduit for knowledge and truth for Black youth. I will always help Black youngsters. I think she put on there, understand writing and the power of written word, and I will help pay for whatever it takes to help uh, young people in the Black community do better. And that's what her mantra is. And she did that. She did that till the end. And so when you talk Black revolutionaries, they not all marching the streets with red, black, and green dashikis on, Barry. Some of them are writing us into the future, literally writing us into right now. And so I guess it's our job, Brother Barry, to inspire, and Lee and Brother Rodney, to inspire somebody to write us even further, right? Write us all the way into the 3000s instead of, if that can be possible. Somebody can just get us to 2050, baby. We might be in good hands. But to put us in the future so that we're not confused about what the mission is. Us. Marcus Garvey say, onwards ever, backwards never, right?
Right on. So are we transitioning over, Lee? What we talking about next, brother? I guess
Oh no, we having tech difficulties, Brother Barry.
I think we are.
Now, when I was looking, the docket was so heavy. We have talked almost about one or two of those things. But what did you think about the dude from America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being sent to El Salvador,
Yeah.
and then they said send him home, and they said send who home, and they said him, and then they was like, oh, hold up, we don't have that many flights going out of El Salvador, and they was like, bring him home now, and they was like, bring who home, and it went back and forth. What do you think about people being able to tell the United States government? Uh, what about the government telling itself? Huh? What you talking about? That's pretty much what happened, right? The government told one facet of the government, then the other facet of the government said no.
Yeah. So to me, I think that it's showing them trying to prepare to take people's constitutional rights away. And, seeing that we had the Maryland senator who went over, saw the young man, had a chance to talk to him. Uh, you know, that's really uh part of the issue. Because we're always, watching what this guy is doing. But I don't feel like at this moment there's some ramifications. And part of it, because the Supreme Court said that this young man's supposed to come home. They're using this idea, sort of like what they did with the Patriot Act, that some anonymous tip can come in and say that you're a part of a gang. I know that someone was saying that he had, it was Bill Maher yesterday who was saying, oh, he had domestic violence. I'm like, yeah, domestic violence don't give you a reason to deport a person, though, right? Like, if he's an American citizen, you just can't, ship him over seas without due process. And if he had due process and he's become a better citizen, then we can't hold him or ship him out for that. So, Rashi, I think it's nasty work. And I think it's worse when you got a president saying that he wants to take American people who are natural born citizens here, and he's looking to deport them too. So
Yeah.
I think it's an ugly bill.
Um, this is what really got me about it. There are judges coming at this man left and right, but nobody is like admitting that they're a part of the team to keep him tight. Like everybody who's coming at him is doing it really open and
Mhm.
act like he's a fool and Lawrence O'Donnell is on his head top all day. And there's a whole lot of people popping up saying this is the bad guy and this is how he's the bad guy. But the dudes who are and the ladies who are doing the undercover work for him, they're so silent. Who are these people? Who are the lawyers and the fixers and the closers and the who
Mhm.
should we be really watching? Because I mean, they can't just keep me watching him. I mean,
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, I'll do it for a little while because I like to see old men kind of dance and stutter. It's a TikTok trend, but no, I don't. I don't 100% think he's capable of all of his workings, and
mhm.
I just would like to know who's the man behind the Oz wizard thing. Who is the group of people behind the Wizard of Oz machine?
That's a
Cause
good
I'm down. I'm down. This is Emerald City. Cool, cool, cool.
question.
Cool, cool, cool. Today we wearing green, and I would just want to know who, because it's not Richard Pryor. He dead, and
Yeah,
you giving us Trump. This Trump is not the wizard behind the mask. Trump is the voice mask thing. Okay,
yeah.
and behind that mask has to be a consortium. Is okay. Okay, fine. Elon is one. Yes, Elon is one.
Elon's the prime minister for the most part.
He not listening to JD Vance. Vance ain't one of them.
Now he listening. I mean, Vance is a typical neo-Nazi. He gonna fall with the big wigs as long as he get to go around and tell the rest of the world about themselves. But
Okay,
Vance,
and then there was three. Now give me who. Okay, who am I? Who else am I not paying attention to, Thomas?
so that's a good question. I've often asked this question about Trump because I've noticed that every president has had what we call a political advisor, and typically the political advisor is the brains or is connected to the people who is the brains behind the man. But with Trump, we have not had a political advisor to point to. And
Yeah,
that's
No Rumsfeld, no Cheney.
Mark Bernard said Steve Bannon. But I don't know if it's Bannon, and I just saw who was the guy? Karl Rove just wrote a piece inside of the Washington Post about Trump. And so Amir said, I agree they are puppets for some masterminds behind this agenda. I believe that it is, but maybe it is what people are saying. Maybe it's Putin. Wait, maybe it's Russia. And maybe he is a Russian operative. And I think that Americans have to get from outside of this egocentric response that, Russia or no one else could manipulate or have an agent within our walls. I think that it's quite simple. They can. Uh, Rodney said Stephen Miller along with Putin. And so I believe that that is something that is real. I think that that is very true. I feel like, you know, and I have to look up Stephen Miller to get more of an understanding who that is. But
Yeah, man, he's high level creepy, man. That's
yeah,
some high order creep factor.
check him.
But he's a part of an old regime. He's part of the other. He been there a while. He been a sycophant. He been holding down that camp. So yes, you're right, brother Rodney. Uh, uh, Stephen Miller. Man, dang, everybody's a dude.
But it's
They ain't been able to bamboozle no white lady.
well, hey, listen, they don't necessarily deal with women, and they don't deal with women and melanated people. You back? Lee must have finally got back. Lee, don't go to the bathroom on the show, brother. But uh, you know, you gotta. I don't know, man. We're like in this funny space that where if we really paid attention to history, and that's my piece with his connection with Hitler. If we really parable of the sour, I see, I see.
Yes, yes.
So if we really paid attention to history and what Hitler did inside of Nazi Germany, we will be able to find some of the correlations with what Trump is doing. However, in this country, because we're only so good with the theatrics, as far as we go back to Nazi Germany, it's not Hitler. We can only tell you things from Anne Frank. And that's not to be, to kind of like crack a joke about it or what have you. But it is an example of we have not really broken that down. But I think that's what that's the mindset he's following. What do you think, Rodney?
Well, I was just typing in the chat that when we talk about Hitler, we talk about Hitler as an anomaly of the day, unique to Europe.
Right.
But in actuality, remember they came to America to learn how to do the things that they did. They adopted some of not Mark Sanger, but Margaret Sanger's eugenics and applied it to their movement in Germany. So Hitler, the Nazis, their origin is just as much European, but their Holocaust is probably more American because they studied how white people treated the Negro. As a matter of fact, there's plenty of writings on the meetings that they had discussing what they had learned from America. I believe they had the meeting in Nuremberg, which later on became the place where they held the trials to talk about the atrocities, which I thought was karma and very fitting.
Hmm.
Leave so silent. Uh, what I wanted to ask you all was what y'all thought also, okay, about martial law, because we're talking about people we put in office. It leads right up to the same thing. These are people who are creating their own reality here. They said, we know we finna change things so much. What do you think about martial law? Uh, and this is an interesting topic for you, Brother Rodney, because you used to be the martial part. So I want you to think about it as if you were still in. Could they have used you? Could they have enlisted you to do the work of, martial law?
I think Rodney might be on the call.
Oh, okay. What about you, Brother Barry? Are you even prepared to even deal with martial law? Have you ever seen it in action?
I will say that I don't even know how to necessarily say I'm prepared because you're never really prepared until you in it. And you have to get used to it because we're so used to these freedoms. But I'm aware of it. I've studied it. And it's crazy. Brother Jamar said never thought it could even come to fruition until this guy got reelected. And Amir said Zionist Nazis. So I would
So
say,
what does it look like? Let's break it down. We're talking about a curfew.
well, I mean,
That means you can go out at a certain time and you have to be back into a certain zone by a certain time.
so you had that already during COVID. So you had a curfew during COVID. You had restrictions. You had, like at COVID, you couldn't be out past 11 o'clock. You had to have your mask on. You had certain things that you had to do. So we have had some, similarity, but the restriction of movement is one of them. Also, I believe that the constant uh, embargo on your privacy is another thing too. With this martial law situation, I think this guy is going to be targeting people who disagree with him too. So we're going to be dealing with pretty much the invasion of the body snatchers.
With the Patriot Act as its icing, right?
100%. And this is why I push back on the other party all the time, the Democrats, and say that they did not do enough walking back the things that George Bush broke. And if we're talking about futuristics, we have to talk about what we should be demanding as a people with life after Trump. How are we going to take this Project 2025 stuff and rip it up? How are we going to take this Patriot Act type of overseeing uh, and do it again? And so we're going to have to really dig in. Rodney said he could see us but not hear anything, and we can't see you at all, brother. You might have to log out and come back in. Amir said that's why I don't want them stripping them away our gun rights, because when martial law comes into full effect, we need to defend ourselves, and that's real.
Or
But
do you think we'll ever get down to food rationing?
oh yeah, I think all that's coming. I do. If we don't make it to midterms, if we don't do the midterms, that's definitely when shit's about to be bad. Because as long as they control the politics, and see, that's the cold piece about it. It's about trying to appease to that 47%, 46%, maybe 43% of Americans that they don't need to necessarily, be able to do all that. And I don't know if we'll be able to appease that part because people are so extreme in how they're showing up in politics. But it's definitely, Sister Rashi, food rationing is a part of it. And this is why, I keep on saying we got to get out of our comfort, like the comfort of I'm gonna do this on my own and I'm gonna have my own and my peace of mind. Man, what they got come from you is gonna drive you batshit crazy. And so you might want to deal with the family members and the loved ones so that you don't have to have all that strife on your own. People who can make sure, even if it's a ration in the food, we got duties, and we can have some that can grow some food, make some food, and stretch some food, or go do some hunting, so that you can make sure you're protected. Like, we keep talking about guns, but they got plenty of guns. So you got one gun and your one gun up against 25 guns. How you gonna fare? And then you got to think about who it is with the guns and who it is that you ask Rodney, would he carry it out? Rodney ain't gonna carry it out. But white boy Roy might. And white boy Roy might be a rapist too. So imagine all of these fatherless households that we got with women and children in there, and you got rapists and you got pedophiles that got guns and got the military backing with somebody like Trump behind them that's not going to force a thing. Man, it's pretty much like the bank without security at this point in the ghettos of America. Shit's wide open. And then the brothers that will pick up a gun and do something, most of them sitting inside of prison. And if they ain't sitting inside of prison, they got their families and they got to secure their families. They ain't even talk to your family in forever because you done told folks, mind your business, shut the fuck up talking to me. I'm going to do what I want to do, how I want to do it. Okay, here you go.
I mean, I can't believe somebody would enlist into the military just to hold a gun up to another American person's head and say, "No, no, walk that way. No, you can't go in here. You got to go that way." And go get your sack of rice and 2 sticks of butter and a can of powder, bag of powdered milk. That used to be some good butter, though. Did you ever get that commodity? Anyway, uh, uh, and then take us back to the can of pork. The can of pork. And I don't think people are prepared to shut it all the way down. There are 2 kinds of peanut butter. There are 3 kinds of jelly. There are one or two kinds of rice. And then have that shelf. You know what America really can't take is a bare grocery shelf. You go in that grocery store and you don't see nothing but two and three cans of this and a half a bag of that. And you can see the store is stretching it and opening up the containers and parceling the inside parts out. That's general store type shit, Mr. Rodney. You know them. No, no, I'm just playing. But back in the day, it was a huge pack of flour, and the person would siphon out portions. Are we ready to go back to general store type buying and not even the way we purchasing it now? Something I saw still in use in Africa, still being done. There's still a butcher. There's still a bread maker. You understand? In Africa, in East Africa. So are we prepared for that part? Because that's a facet of martial law too, right? The dollar ain't gonna be worth as much because where you gonna spend it at? You spend it when they tell you, where they tell you, the places that are open, based on the martial law, who aren't subjecting us, who don't have a TV where they giving us propaganda, the ones who can refuse you if you gay, they don't have to make your cake. Those are the stores that are open under that kind of regime. Or am I being too far gone? Or am I thinking too far out of the box?
Well, I dipped out for a minute, but it sounds like you all are talking about the possibility of declaring martial law tomorrow or sometime thereafter under the Alien and Sedition Act or whatever else he makes up, and that's all possible, and it's also all a part of the plan of Project 2025. To answer your question, Rossi, directly, no, we are not prepared. That's I thought it was rhetorical, but just in case, no, we're not prepared. And one of the ways that we're not prepared, and I know we had the segment about guns earlier, is we have been told that guns are bad and that we shouldn't have guns. So while we didn't, for the most part, get guns and embrace them, we see the other side doing it. I know when I go to the gun range, I see the husband with his wife, his mistress, his side piece, and children from all of them, and they go as one family. And he's teaching them how to shoot black people because that's really what they're going for. And when I go to buy ammo, it's hard to find it because they bought it all the good stuff. You can get some of the other stuff. I mean, it'll still kill you just as dead, but you know, they have the better guns, they have the better ammunition. And this is a strange thing, but what I've been suggesting to the brothers and sisters out there is you need to arm up. You need to get some food. You need to find out who you can collaborate with, who you can call on, and who can call on you, who you can partner with, who you can share with. You need to find alternate means of providing energy so you can cook with. And that's the Octavia Butler future that is our present right now. And as far as declaring martial law, I did and still believe he may, no, I lean towards him declaring it. But what he's also found out is he can do some of the same things that he would do under martial law without declaring martial law. Kidnapping American citizens off the street, sending residents to concentration camps. And I think that language is very important here. That may seem like I'm splitting hairs, but that's not a prison as we think of prisons. And I don't think we should say prison. It's a concentration camp. If you look up the definition of concentration camp, that's what it says. Keep in mind that when these people are sent to the El Salvadorian concentration camp, it doesn't make a difference whether the camp is in your country or in another country because all of the concentration camps weren't in Germany. It is a concentration camp. The person was sent with no due process. Without due process, you have no justice system. It's just us, except you have a few vanilla people added to it. So, and the target is always us. And let's not forget that this is not about the illegals. This is not about the criminals. This is about black people and all those other things are smoke screens to get to us. Because when he says he called him a terrorist. First, he was supposed to be a member of MS-13, a criminal. Next, when that didn't work, because there's absolutely no proof that he's a member of MS-13, so now they pulled up something else, a terrorist. Because if you're labeled as a terrorist under the current laws, you lose the Bill of Rights. No longer are applicable. And that's what they did to him. Also, when they sent him, again, what was the charge? And what was he convicted of? By a jury of his peers or by a judge? Nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. And
Yep.
so they sent him to this concentration camp that had no expiration date on his sentence.
Facts.
Again, we need to call it what it is. And it's a concentration camp. And we heard him on a hot mic moment say that he wants the president of El Salvador to build 5 more. And later, and then and now, he's saying he want to be able to send homegrowns. That's how he call it, homegrowns.
Yep.
Get all the criminals out. Well, if he was really that serious about getting criminals out, why don't he send some of those people who did mass shootings? Did he say he wanted to send the guy that just did the shooting that we were talking about? Did he say he wanted to send him to El Salvador? No. Did he say he wanted to send any of the 1-6 people to El Salvador? No. As a matter of fact, he wants to pay them reparations. So that smoke screen has been blown away by his own words. And so let's stop acting like those things that he's saying have some validity to it when it's all bovine defecation, and we need to call it like it is. He wants to send Americans to concentration camp indefinitely, and the target, though, is us. So I know I feel you, Brother Barry, on the gun control, but right now, I actually don't want any more gun control than what there is, because they don't even enforce the laws that we have. And anything that prevents me from going down to the store to be able to protect me, mine, and my community, I'm totally against it. Arm up, brothers and sisters, because they are just waiting for him to give the word. The Fugitive Slave Act. Then when they got rid of abortion, they had the Fugitive Woman Act, where they were paying $10,000 if you could rat on a woman that may have left the state. Well, now there's going to be the Fugitive Immigrant Act, and under that act will deputize militia people and people like Eric Prince to go and hunt down illegals. And guess who has always been illegal in this country in white eyes? Us. They're coming after us. You better be ready. Don't get ready, because it's too late. You better be ready.
Yes, it's a nasty situation, and that's why the infighting amongst us got to stop, because they can pick us off a lot easier as long as they can see us fight with each other. They know we'll sell each other out if we hate each other's guts. They already know that. And, like I said, Rodney, it's you got to thread the needle. It's a tough situation. I'm all for, I'm not adverse to people owning guns. Make it clear. But I am adverse to white straw buy sellers who have been proven to sell to people illegally, getting more rights to do it again, being cleared, because I know they won't do that for our people. And so anytime I see them doing something that I know is only targeted for white folks, and it's to put more guns in white people's hands, we know what that's about, but we have to always be mindful that if we get 10 cents, they getting $1. And so I'm also saying, it's a both and thing. Then I also want to hear the rhetoric on the other side, because all this is going on. But I've yet to hear the Democrats say, when they get back in power, this is what they're going to walk back. And I think that has to become the conversation in this country, so that the people can feel like these fools got a plan or two. When we start talking about, and I said this last week, what was the clothes that they said that these young men, were having the issues with? They were talking about Chicago Bulls jerseys, Nike sweatpants, Jordan shoes, gold chains, right?
Yep.
That's part of it. Elite. I think this conversation is a part of the contempt thing, brother, because the contempt is about him neglecting or not caring about what that judge is saying. Because the reality of it is they're saying, no, we're going to keep on snatching people off the streets. F what y'all talking about.
Hey, Brother
Yeah.
Barry, can I inject right there?
Yeah.
If you close your eyes and just listen to the description that you gave, you don't think of illegals. You don't think of none of that. What you think is of a black person.
African American. Hey, listen, I'm thinking about a brother in the urban setting of the US of A.
You're talking about urban gear, which is code for black clothing,
Yep.
right? And the reason why I apologize for interrupting, but I wanted to get that in because I just want to be 100% clear on this. All of these things are code words for another way of saying the N word. They're after us. They give that. If you notice the descriptions that they're given, it went from the worst criminals to from the worst illegals. Then it went to criminals. Well,
Yeah.
who's known for criminality? We're gonna get rid of the really bad ones. And then when he started talking about how some of those bad ones, who some of those bad ones were, he gave examples that were leading again back to black people. When he pardoned those two police officers to show how he supported the blue after he had been ridiculed for actually not doing it, he says, well, I pardoned those. I'm thinking about pardoning those two because I think they were treated unfairly when they were chasing a really bad dude, a really bad illegal, and something happened. And I thought they would, well, if something happened, I believe it was actually a brother, not an illegal, but he labels him that because he's trying to transfer all of those things that he's been saying about undocumented illegal people. He's trying to, and this is the plan all along, to soften people up and accept what you do to them so that then when he turn it on us, they would be ready to pull that trigger. So I just wanted to jump in and say that description was a description of black people, and that's who they're coming after. I see we have a guest that just joined us on the show, Sister Shaquila.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter.
Sister Shaquilla.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I wanted to make a comment about the arms, on the arms, and I would like to say that I was fervently against it before Trump got into office, and I had all these, self-righteous opinions about, they're dangerous, this, that, they harm people, that. But when I saw that he was coming into office, a light switch went on in my head. And going back to what you both mentioned, there has been a long campaign about, guns are bad and don't own guns. But meanwhile, all the white people been owning the guns. They've been owning the guns. They've been stocking up. They've been stocking on ammo. This is something that they've always loved to do. But meanwhile, the Democrats and others have tried to criminalize and more or less make it seem like it was a horrible thing to own guns. And like you said, it was to make sure that we were unarmed, right? Because when you look at um, how many people have arms, most of them, I would say, are probably more responsible. You have police officers that are praised and they kill us every day with their arms. You know what I mean? You have these real homegrown terrorists that are the young white incel males who get the guns that their parents buy them and then they shoot up schools, right? And I've been mentioning to my people, listen, you need to get this, you need to get this. And what I'm here, oh, I don't want a gun, I'm afraid it's dangerous. And I'm like, so you rather need one and not have one because you think it's no, to me, it's no rationale anymore at this point, because to me, it's about us protecting ourselves. And so even if you have one sidearm and you got a whole bunch of bullets, that's better than having a bat. You know what I mean? So I think we have to look at the propaganda that was put out there to keep us from defending ourselves, and then look at why these gun control laws are so insidious, because they know the white people have stocked up for hundreds of years so that they can have something to come back at us with Civil War 2.0. So I just wanted to put that out there, and also that keep your eyes open for those sales for ammo, because they're about to go back up.
Thank you, Sister Shakila, and I agree. I think the other thing that we have to do is plan and strategize on how we're going to support each other if we are attacked, and how we're going to be able to hold our communities and neighborhoods together. But you have to be proactive in these things. These are not things that you respond to. The adult thing is to plan ahead, and you can do group buys of guns. You might not be able to buy one gun by yourself, but if you got 5 people that could put in $200 a piece, and maybe that's all you got, but you put that $200 in, and everybody do it until all five got a firearm. Now you all got a gun, and if you all are living in close proximity or in the same house, now you all can protect each other. But I feel like part of the problems that we have, and I thank you for talking about how the conversation about guns, and it goes back to the Panthers and what they were doing inside of California. And it was Ronald Reagan who put laws together that almost made it illegal for black folks to have guns, right? And so we're gonna have to do a lot of deprogramming and reprogramming of who we are and what we are and how to protect each other. But this is coming to a theater near you, and I'm not meaning movie theater, as they say, the theater of war. It's coming into your neighborhood. It's going to be right there in your front lawn. Uh, and so, to me, you know, I feel like that's kind of where we're struggling. And so,
Yeah.
you know, Sister Rashi, I mean, what do you think about all this as a woman?
All I see is them coming down the highway in the tanks. And what we have forgotten is back in the day, the military had this surplus, and so it started giving it to the local police departments. Do you remember that, Mr. Rodney? That the military was like when it came back from, it was giving away whole tanks, and the black, it's like a black, it looked like a cyber truck, but on hyped up.
So just to be clear, even though it came from the military, it was Congress, Republicans in Congress, that put forth that bill and passed it into law.
So now I know they they used to just have something that we could possibly get. But now I know up in the annuals in Kansas City, some of they blacklist black site weaponry caches, or what they call, I think it's called an armory or whatever.
Mhm.
They have military weapon grade gifts that they've been bestowed, from the armory trucks to probably something that could do a move 80 on us, when they bombed them Philadelphians out of the top of their domicile. And so I'll be wanting to be like, yeah, yeah, and then I'm like, man, they gonna blow. And they have congregated us still. I don't know how it works up in your neck of the woods, but we're congregated in Kansas City. So you really only have to hurt 3 or 4 deep communities before you have killed probably 70% of Kansas City's black population. So they have still been good at that. So when you start talking martial law and what they're going to be able to get away with, and how close I live to the highway, and how when they come through and they come and they jump out of the thing, I hate to sound hyperbolic, but that's what it looks like. And I don't like people to be clutching their pearls, looking, talking about this is America. This is America, man. I just remember. Hey, do y'all remember that footage of Honoree coming down to Katrina, when they had started shooting the Katrinas all back across the? All right, sorry. The people in New Orleans who were suffering under Katrina, I call it Katrinas. I'm sorry. They had and they had made them go back across the bridge. Anyway, they had to send the military down there. And the military came in pointing the guns at them very same refugee Katrinas. And he told 'em, put that goddamn gun down and give them a sandwich. Ask them, do they need water? Stop putting. So are we even able to foresee them being able to help us when they come? Martial law is supposed to be to restore when something catastrophic has happened.
No, because their job, and this is going back to what we've been saying, I think, for the last few years, the infighting amongst us. This is why we need each other. They're not there to help us, they're there to harm us. We have to be there to help each other. And we're going to have to learn how to unlearn the differences that they've taught us that we've had. We're going to have to chuck that out because survival, and he talking about folks in that foxhole, I ain't got time to be talking to you about no feminism, patriarchal type shit. I ain't got no time for that. I'm trying to make sure that we can make it to another sunrise. And now we got high stakes. All of the luxuries that we've had and, the margins that we've been able to play with, we see they're gone. And I think that that's hard for our community to swallow. And Rodney, I know you said you want to make an announcement, but let me say this real quick. That's why I'm worried about the traffic of conversation I see on social media. We are out here parading as the human dodo bird. We see what's going on, and our only plan is to bury our head in the dirt with our necks exposed and our asses sticking up. And you may be twerking while your head is in the dirt and your ass is exposed. But it does not mean that they won't chop off your head and sell your feathers. We have to be a lot more smarter, and it goes to our children as well. They are going to need responsibility, and they're going to have to be brought along to understand the times that they're in. It won't be play dates at Camp Nickelodeon in Disney World. Learning the latest line dance won't save you from what's coming down. And that's just the ugly truth. But Brother Rodney, you said you had an announcement, so.
Well, I thought this went in line with the discussion because for a couple of months, we've been planning to do a buy-in at Costco. Since Costco said that they were pushing back on their own board and they were going to keep their diversity, equity, inclusion program, and they believe that including multiple types of people was beneficial to them and their bottom line, their customer base. And even after 45 said he was going to come out to them, they still stood their ground on it very similarly to how Harvard is doing it. But I delegated it. So for people who say I don't delegate, I did delegate it, and it just didn't happen. So finally, I took it back and I said, we're going to do it. And they said, well, don't we need time to prepare for it? I said, yes, we do. But we're going to still do it this Saturday, which is today, at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is in about 66 minutes. We're going to go to the local Costco on North Decatur and 215, North Decatur and 215. And I put out the word late yesterday afternoon because when ICE comes for us, and they will come for us, we're going to need people to be able to respond, a QRF, to use the general's phrase, if you will. And so this is a test. I also want people to come out and support Costco because Costco supported us and still supports us. And this is not to say that we shouldn't still buy black. We still should buy black. But when companies and individuals come out to support us, we need to recognize that support. So we're going to have a buy-in at the Costco on North Decatur and 215 here in Las Vegas today at 11 a.m. PST. And hopefully we can get 100 people to come out. A couple of people are going to meet me there that's willing to buy a couple of memberships to give them to the people who may not be able to afford it. I will give away 2 memberships. But the idea is for people who have Costco cards already to come out. If you only buy one thing, let's mass in the parking lot by the tire shop starting at 11 a.m. Walk in as a group at 11:10. And if you only buy one thing, you just walk around the store. Be there, be present. And that's what we have to learn, being present, being seen. So once again, it's a Costco buy-in, 11 a.m. this morning, Pacific Standard Time. It's 9:56 here, which means it's 12:56 on the East Coast, a 3-hour time difference. And if you all want to do that where you are, great. But this is something that we have been planning to do for a couple of months. So I said we're going to pull the trigger today to coin a phrase, but it's also to show support as well as to see how quick can we muster people when we need them to show up for us. So please spread the word. And if you can make it out, it's about an hour and 6 minutes from now. Go to the Costco here in Las Vegas at North Decatur and 215. I'll see you there.
All right, on Brother Rodney. We got 5 minutes left. Sister Rashi, what do you want to close out with?
I just want to let you all know that wherever you are, there's a child around you who's about to be analyzed by the government on a state level that will be shared by the federal level. They want to know what your child, your niece, your granddaughter, your great niece, they want to know if got any of that indoctrination that Mr. Rodney talked about earlier. They want to know what stuck in their craw, as they say. They want to know if they can compete on an international level intellectually with other children. They want to know. And part of that is going to rely on us deciding if it's important. So if you're around a child and they are below the ages of 18 and they are in anybody's public or charter, private school don't have to do it, but they usually do some version of it as well. If they're in public school right now, we are in something called testing zone. And this testing zone is where we ask back from our parents, grandparents, neighbors, what can you do to talk to this child to let them know that your expectations for your family is somewhat in the test? Their ability to understand and read and comprehend and even regurgitate information is a part of your family fabric. And so just know that there's a child out there who's anxious, who probably didn't do so well this year, who didn't get the support they felt like they needed. And so they're about to be tested on information that could be helped if their family just only knew they didn't know. So if you have a child around you and you know that they're within the testing window, at least talk to them and see what their anxiety level is like. Make sure they're not, over the top with it. Put it in perspective for them. Make sure it's important, but don't make sure that it's not giving them I sound so white. Psychic stress. And y'all know what I'm talking about. So, love up on a child around you. As all you know, it's all about spring. And so, technically, we just hit the new year. For those of you who are naturalists, we don't do the new year in January. Our new year just began when the buds and the leaves and the stuff. So, Happy New Year, fellas. And let's get it. Let's get it. And I can't wait to see you, Brother Barry. I sure can't wait to see you.
Um, Peace. That's where I'm at with it. Peace.
Is Lee still on? Or is he off?
Stranded. Stranded on the toilet.
Leave this man alone. All
Oh.
right, all right. So I'm sure he wants us to know that whether you listen now or you listen later, thank you so much for tuning in to Real Radio. Radio established to address life. We talk about all things dealing with life, and most importantly, we are here to illuminate ideas and actionable work that you can do to help soften and alleviate the struggle that Black people are facing in America. Real Radio is a part of the African liberation struggle. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yes? All right, fellas.
Lee
Have a
left.
fantastic
He got to be the
weekend.
one. He got to be the one to close the show. Did he close the show?
Well,
Y'all
Brother
have a
Barry,
good evening.
you use this
Go
closing phrase, Brother
go buy
Barry.
some of them big old scrimps, Rodney. I want some of them Costco scrimps.
I got you.
All right.
All right, y'all. Peace.